I would describe Reed Richards as many things. He's a scientist. He is an explorer, and he is a husband. And I wouldn't put it necessarily in that order. If anything, I might reverse the order. Um, uh, he's very smart, and his brain is addicted, I think, to the universe and beyond, and solving equations, and always understanding the mathematics of reality, and in a world of numbers, so that you can always come up with a solution. But what really anchors him and really defines his identity is his relationship to his family, and the position that he has within a people of four, and also his relationship to his partner, to his equal, to his leader, in some senses, his wife, and the future of becoming a father, and how that is a much more complex equation to work on than, all of the complexities of science.
I play a character called Johnny Storm. His personality is he's curious, he's silly, he's adventurous, he's fiery. His special skill is setting himself on fire and flying. And Johnny's relationship with the other members of the Fantastic Four, he is the biological brother of the brilliant Sue Storm, the brother-in-law to Mr. Reed Richards, the brother from another mother to Ben Grimm.
So Sue Storm is known as Marvel's mother because she was the first mother of Marvel, and she has 2 kids in the comics. And her powers are becoming invisible and using force fields to do that. So therefore she can use force fields to move things and to move frequency. And it's a very special power, I think. Her relationship to the others, well, her little brother Johnny I think they have a beautiful sibling relationship, and we loved playing it. I loved it. Ben, I always felt like he was her secret best friend too. And they had a very private relationship, I think, that was always really special. I mean, friendship. And then, of course, Reed, Sue and Reed are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. And that was something that we loved about the comics. They were just always defined by each other in a beautiful way that was always really moving. And of course, they share this family together. So it felt amazing to do it in partnership with these guys, not alone.
Yeah, Ben Grimm is a very practical, kind of terrestrial man, whereas Reed lives in a world of abstraction. I think Ben has his feet on the ground. He is deeply committed to his family. I think Ben is a very loyal man, and after they go through this profound transformation, he's even further enmeshed with his family. He has a real need to depend on these people that are so close to him, people that knew him before, and that he can sort of feel at home with. I think he's a person, because he's been transformed into quite a scary-looking thing. Home is very important to him, where he can feel comfortable, and these other characters are his home.
Mm-hmm. It felt really meaningful to portray such a powerful, well-known, loved character in the Marvel legacy. I remember just, before I met Matt Shakman, I went back and started reading the comics from the 60s, and even from just first finding stuff online, it was so clear how loved she was and how specific she was, and how she was defined by her compassion and her empathy, as well as her power. And there was something that was linked for me about both those things. And also the fact that I just loved her entire journey from being called Elizabeth. Oh my God, the Queen.
Margaret.
Elizabeth I. No, I've got confused. Invisible Girl by her husband, all the way to her
Otherwise
naming...
known as Elizabeth.
The Elizabeth woman.
This happened a lot this week. And then her renaming herself Invisible Woman because of the journey she goes on. She becomes Malice, and she's just so iconic to me and really special. But I was excited about mostly about the love that she has for her family and her children and her husband, because you can be really badass, you can be a super strong female superhero, but it seemed awesome that it was also asking her to be pregnant and, give birth and try and always lead with love before, except Malice, which I'm excited. Hopefully one day we get to do.
How does Johnny's adrenaline-seeking behaviours affect the rest of the family? Well, in this film, we see him, there's something quite aspirational and there's a yearning for space. He's very fascinated about space. So he will go to the brink of the atmosphere as far as he can go before hurtling back down to Earth, which I think is quite strange behaviour. So I think his family would probably be a little worried about him. I think he probably drives his family a bit nuts. I think he's a bit of a caution, but makes up for it in other ways.
Every second of Ben's day is defined by his physical constraints, and he is in this casing. He's very much a man inside, but the way he goes through the world is as kind of a monster. And so I think he is always, in a way, trying to assert and project his humanity, and is never fully satisfied. He never realizes and feels fully at home in the world.
As a family and as a world, we face the threat via the herald of the Silver Surfer that Galactus, an unidentifiable space god, is going to eat our planet unless we give him our son, our newborn. And so we are faced with, as a family, we are faced with an impossible choice.
Well, yes, I had the good fortune of working with Matt a few years ago on Game of Thrones. He very kindly gave me maybe 8 lines in one of the episodes there, and I met him and we had a very rainy day, few days in Belfast together, and he was lovely and cordial and got everything done and was open to ideas and didn't fire me, so that was good. And then coming onto this, he has a singular vision, and it was very clear that he had a clear direction where he wanted to take this world. There was a very specific texture, and his bravery to lean into a world that felt very practical. These sets that we were working on were just enormous and did so much valuable storytelling. I imagine for him as a director, but also it was so much easier for us as actors to go in there. I think for him to have that instinct to lean into practical aspects of filmmaking with Herbie, especially, that really brought something that feels authentic alongside, hopefully, the performances. I'm certain that the authenticity of the adoration and the love and the care that these characters have for each other are there because we felt them organically as actors. But it was the casting and leaning into the practical sides of filmmaking that I was most grateful to Matt for.
Matt Shakman, in this movie, he's a world builder. from the Lower East Side to the far reaches of the galaxy. You know, the detail, the level of care. It's a deeply personal movie for him. He's cared about the Fantastic Four since he was a child, and I think you see it in every frame of the movie.
Matt Shakman, I've known for most of my adult life. We've been friends for about 26 years. And this is the first time that we've gotten to work together. We'd worked together on, like, you know, staged readings of plays and stuff like that back in the day. And so to step into something as big as this together was, it felt very special. It felt very fated. I think that, like Ebon said, he built the world for us in every way, whether it was our bedroom or our spaceship or Galactus's ship. Or having an incredible puppeteer running around with us as Herbie, creating an incredible scene partner, and just always the elements that you need to interact with to believe the world that you're in and to help inform the character that you're playing in every detail. And I think that the story of becoming parents is very, very personal to him. And the idea of parenthood, so he was always there to kind of navigate that emotional journey for the two of us as parents, and for the four of us as a family, bringing in a fifth. So yeah, he was our movie daddy.
Matt Shakman, I think, worked harder on this film than anyone I've ever been around in a working professional space. I mean, he just, even when I would say, oh, I've been thinking this thing about the scene, and could we chat about it? He'd be Zooming with us on a Sunday night when he'd had no sleep and he was preparing for the week ahead. I mean, he just put his heart and soul into it and was like fiercely committed to realizing it. And, you know, we were taking care of our little individual character trajectory as well as our family one, but he was taking care of the entire whole, the whole picture, including, you know, when we would go and do the big sequences like the birth, you know, he would have mapped that birth out for like 2 years in advance in his mind, and how cinematically he was going to realize that, you know, whereas we joined his vision. And I'm so grateful for his unbelievable discipline, because he didn't, you know, there wasn't 1 second that he wasn't living and breathing this movie for us, on behalf of us. And yeah, we just got to be like the embodiment of it within his vision.
I would, you know, describe her as, you know, quite a tragic story. Surprisingly, it's tragic. You're not quite sure in the beginning, and just feels very ambiguous. And then, you know, you realize that it's quite tragic.
Well, Galactus in the movie, I play Galactus, who is a 14 billion year old cosmic vampire who hasn't spoken for millions of years before the events of this movie. He's the devourer of worlds, and he's a cosmic entity. And it's required that he survives to keep a cosmic balance in the world. And he survives by devouring planets, kind of making them into this lava smoothie that he injects intravenously into himself. So yeah, he's the devourer of worlds. And unfortunately, the Fantastic Four live on a world that he is about to devour. So yeah, in this situation, he's a very bad guy, but he is just a cosmic force.
How do I fulfill these tasks? I mean, yeah, I think there's a sense of control, but also never showing that, you know, she's losing control. You know, because it's like life or death, because I feel like she works with Galactus, but she can't ever show that or feel it, you know, in front of people that it's life or death. So always trying to like maintain that cool in a way, even though it's not cool. It's the opposite.
Yeah, Galactus is a cosmic being, but also a giant spaceship. So a lot of that is the cosmic being part of it is kind of up to me to do the work as an actor before I set foot on set, and then the job on set, practical job on set for 2/3 of the time I was filming was wearing the practical suit. So I've said before, it's like driving a Formula One car, or being a Formula One car in a sense, whereby I've got a huge pit crew of about 8 people around me to help me do it, to get all the bits off in between takes, to cool me down, and then put them all back on to go. And huge air conditioning units which they put up the back of my costume to keep my body temperature down. So part of the job of making this giant being was up to me to get it, so I believe it in my head, but the majority of it is down to the way they shoot me as a miniature with lots of bright white light, so then that can be blown up massively so that everything stays in perfect focus. It's kind of how you shoot the miniature. Creating this giant being is very only a small part of it, me. It's to do with this incredible, wearable, amazing costume. I've never seen anything quite like it. And then the cinematography and the camera work, then create the scale of this. So yeah, I'm just kind of one cog in a wheel that brings this character to life.
Well, it's different because it's Shalla-Bal, so, and that's never been portrayed on screen, Shalla-Bal. So just that alone is different, and it was really, really exciting to just get the opportunity to play her. So
from my point of view, it was wonderful. He's such a friendly guy. He knows exactly what he wants. He's got a really, really clear vision, and he really, really loves the source material. He absolutely adores this stuff, and that kind of comes through with the joy he has when he sees. There was my favourite memory of the whole shoot was my first day in full costume on set as Galactus, and did the first few rehearsals for the shot we were going to be working on. And when I stepped off set, just to see the grin on his face, because he kind of knew that we'd actually kind of done it and got this incredible, huge being and managed to kind of put him on screen. And yeah, his joy, he was like a grinning 12-year-old boy. And so, yeah, working with somebody who's got that much love and enthusiasm for the source material is just a joy.
he's absolutely wonderful, and he just has such a clear. That's a great way to put it, clear vision, and knows exactly what he wants, and he's just super kind and patient, and that's really all you can ask for. He's a great leader on set.
I loved working on WandaVision. It's one of the highlights of my career. I loved that cast, that crew, everything we got to do on that was so exciting. And I think similarly, this movie deals with family. It deals with a husband and wife and children in the same way that WandaVision tackled those very personal ideas. But it was bold stylistically in the same way that Wanda was bold. We were creating sitcom realities for WandaVision, and for this we were creating a whole new Earth and a whole new universe that was a 60s retro-futuristic New York. So both of them required similar world building as well as, I think, similar family thematics. Fantastic Four, I've been a huge fan since I was a kid, and they are timely and timeless characters, right? They have been in publishing now for 60 plus years because they're great characters and their stories are great. They're relatable. They are the first family of Marvel. They were a bold and original idea to center a superhero family, to center a superhero team around a family is incredible. And I think that's why they're relatable and why artists and writers want to reinvent them every decade and why filmmakers want to tackle them. But the reason why I think this is interesting is that we are putting it in the 60s, in this retro-futuristic mid-60s on a different Earth where it's close to their point of origin. And they were created in the space race, during JFK and all that optimism and looking to the stars and imagining that with the right technology and the right heart, we can conquer anything. It's the same time that Star Trek is being created. They're very similar in that way. And so by putting them back in that space race time, we could get really close to that optimism and that idealism that's a part of their DNA. we have an amazing cast. They have great chemistry, but each of them is so perfect for their individual part, in addition to just finding those amazing bonds together. Reed Richards is a scientist. He's the smartest man in the universe, but he's also a loving husband and father, best friend. He's a very complicated character who oftentimes keeps his emotions in reserve. But I needed an actor who could bring all of those elements to life, who could be a believable hero and who jumping into the fray, who was brilliant in the lab, 5 minutes away from saving the world or destroying it, and also being a loving husband and father whose emotions will, come out to the surface in wonderful ways in the film. And Pedro Pascal is that actor. He's got incredible range. He can do anything. I've known him most of my adult life since we were in our early 20s. I've seen him do amazing work on stage and on screen, and I knew that Reed would be in amazing hands, just as I knew Sue would be in amazing hands with Vanessa Kirby. She's brilliant. I've never worked with her before, but I'm a huge fan of hers. And just in meeting with her and talking about this character, I could see she had a tremendous passion for Sue and understood her. There's so much strength to Sue. There's so much charm to Sue. She's kind of Captain Kirk to Reed's Spock in a way, right? She will jump into any situation. She's got great emotional intelligence. And so Vanessa was kind of the perfect person for this. And then I'd worked with Joe Quinn on Game of Thrones. He's an amazing actor. I love him. He's so alive. There's such a spark to him. He can do anything. He completely transforms from movie to movie. And I just knew that he would be great for Johnny, that there would be both all the bravado and the cockiness and the humor that you would expect from Johnny Storm, but also a soulfulness and a depth there of somebody who hasn't quite figured out who he is, because he was the youngest one when he was transformed. He didn't really know who he was when his world changed and he suddenly became the Human Torch. So he's on a journey of discovery as well. And then Ebon Moss-Bachrach is a brilliant actor, just one of the best out there. And I knew in meeting him that here was this guy who had this kind of slightly kind of gruff exterior, but this warm, wonderful heart, loving family man, great, husband and father, very much Ben Grimm. Like, that's absolutely who Ben is, and Ebon is very close to that. Such a funny actor, such a great dramatic actor. All four of them, I think of them as like Swiss Army knives, right? They can do everything. They have every tool that you need in order to be able to bring any scene to life. And I always think, hire the best possible actors, and you can never go wrong. I believe in practical wherever possible. If you can build a set, if you can have things that are real there, it fools the eye. It's better for the audience. It's better for the actors. It's real. It's better for us as filmmakers, to film things that are really there. You come up with more interesting shots, more interesting ways of telling a story. And I've also learned over the years, like working on Game of Thrones, that if you have something real in the foreground, that dragon will be believable behind it, and if everything is synthetic or CG or created in computer, it's harder to prove that. When we had the Silver Surfer come down into Times Square in the movie, that was a 2/3 scale Times Square set built on the backlot of Pinewood with 500 extras in beautiful period clothing by Alex Byrne and her team. A fantastic car, the four Fantastic Four actors. She was on a lift 30 feet in the air, standing on a surfboard with a microphone and her voice booming out over speakers. The only thing that was missing is that she wasn't silver. But pretty much everything else was there. And that was great for us. That was great for her. That was great for the actors, great for the background performers. It really felt like the Silver Surfer had come. And I think there's no substitute for that. The Fantastic Four have been popular for 60 plus years because they're a family. They're relatable. They feel like us. We can all understand what it's like to be in a family because we've been in one, And then it's about brothers and sisters. It's about husbands and wives. It's about children. It's about best friends. It's about all of these bonds that define our lives. And I think that's what people feel when they see it. I mean, I bring that in my love of Fantastic Four, but also I try to bring that to the film as a husband and a father myself, trying to make the film as personal and as relatable as possible.